Hello and welcome to this India Today special interview where we review Budget 2020, this time with the former Finance Minister and Congress leader P Chidambaram. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Chidambaram. When you were asked for your initial ratings of Nirmala Sitharaman's budget, between 1 and 10, you said look at the two numerals 1 and 0 and you can take your pick. Are you really telling me that this budget has nothing to offer, that your rating for it is between 1 and 0?
See, every budget has a purpose. That purpose is defined by the context and the circumstances in which the nation finds itself. Today, the dire need, the compelling need was to arrest the 6-quarter decline and revive growth. Now, you can look at other items later. If you look at it only from the point of view of reviving growth, I'm afraid this budget is nothing. I would not hesitate to rate it at 0.
No, that's as you see it today. The finance minister claims that this budget will do exactly what you're saying. It will trigger growth. The number she's given is a 10% nominal growth. She's also spoken about a 6 to 6.5% growth in 2020-21. So in a sense, she believes, or the budget believes, that the worst is over and the economy is going to slowly find its way back on track. The macroeconomic fundamentals are solid. Inflation is low. Banks are being cleaned up. She's presenting a much more positive picture than you are at the moment.
Every statement of yours can be contested. Let's start with nominal growth. Current year nominal growth was estimated at 12%. Ended up with 8.5. For the next year, if you're projecting nominal growth at 10, that's not a revival. And if nominal growth is going to be 10, how do you say real growth will be 6 to 6.5? Historical evidence shows that the difference between nominal growth and real growth is between 4 and 5. Number one. Number two, let's look at inflation. You say inflation is under control. Is it under control? CPI inflation has crossed 7%.
In the month of December, which many believe is an exception. The government says that was an exception.
It's not
caused
month
by
of
unseasonal
December.
winter rains.
CPI inflation is a line graph that goes up. If in December it's 7, unless it comes down in January, the last number I have to play on is 7, is it? And then the WPI inflation is high.
No.
Food inflation is over 10%. Therefore, every number can be contested. Given all these numbers, the last numbers that are available, to her maybe numbers of January were available, to us numbers of December and November are available, we have to take a overall view of the matter. Given these numbers, what is there in the budget that leads us to believe that the slide will be arrested and the revival will start? Now, I can't see how the slide is going to be arrested. And even if the slide is arrested, I can't see the revival.
The government says we are pumping in money into infrastructure. The Prime Minister's claim is 100 lakh crores, which will be put into the infrastructure sector. And that in itself is going to be one of the trigger points for the economy to be revived. And therefore, to suggest that this budget will not result in any revival would be wrong.
See, this 100 lakh crore is all puffery. We have to look at real numbers. In the current year, they plan to spend total expenditure 27 lakh 86,000 crore. They ended up spending 26 lakhs 98,000 crore, roughly 1 lakh crore less. So you must tell us now that you will raise the revenues and you will actually spend it. The evidence shows that you're not able to spend the money allocated, either because you don't have money or you don't know how to spend. So simply by throwing up these numbers, 100 lakh crore, infrastructure pipeline, all that doesn't impress me. What impresses me is hard evidence based on numbers. Your revenues are stressed. Your expenditure capacity is limited. Tell me, if you have the capacity to spend, why did the new expenditure secretary, the first order he passed after he took over, in the last quarter of any financial year, departments are allowed to spend up to 33%. Why did he say, no, you can't spend more than 25%? You know the result of that? The result of that is, in scheme after scheme, they will not spend the money in the current year. So why should I believe they will spend the money in the next year? Take a scheme like midday meal. Is there anything more important than a midday meal scheme? Current year, they allotted 11,000 crore. They've spent only 9,900 crore, or they will spend by March 31 only 9,912 crore. I can give you several examples. I'm not confident this government will raise the revenue it promises to raise, nor it has the capacity to spend what should be spent.
You know, when you throw these numbers at the government, and numbers have become a huge issue at the moment. Even the fiscal deficit numbers, I believe you're challenging. You don't believe that these are realistic numbers, 3.8% for 2019.
I'll tell you why they're not.
3.5
they're
for
not realistic, because I don't think the current year's 3.8 is realistic, because their estimate of revenues is overstated. They think they are going to raise this revenue. They're not going to raise this revenue. They are showing only a 1,25,000 crore loss in net tax revenue. But the market buzzes they will lose 2,50,000 crore. Suppose the reality is in between 1,25,000 and 2,50,000. Suppose you're not able to collect, say, 1,75,000 crore. Immediately your fiscal deficit is going to go up. I don't believe these numbers.
There is a massive commitment that the government is making to disinvestment to raise some of those revenues.
Yes.
They've even gone to the extent of saying a part stake sale in LIC, which you now seem to be opposing. At one level, you're saying the government should be spending more. Here, when the government is trying to raise revenues through a part stake sale of LIC, you've raised a question mark saying you'll oppose it.
No, I didn't say that. And I'll tell you what I said and why I say it. There are two issues. Current year, they plan to raise 1,05,000 crore. On the date of the budget, they had raised 18,000 crore. The revised estimate says 65,000 crore. Let's assume they will raise 47,000 crore in the remaining 2 months, from where I don't know. Next year, they have pitched their goal at some 2,10,000 crore. Now, which I don't know whether LIC is a major part or a small part.
They're looking at Air India, they're looking at BPCL, they're looking at LIC. Will you support these moves or not?
No. Air India, I will support. BPCL, it's gone a little too far. I think there is a bit of a scam in BPCL, but nevertheless, if they want to privatize BPCL, it's arguable both ways. On LIC, they must tell me why they want to disinvest LIC. Today, the Financial Services Secretary says the intention is not to privatize LIC, only to list LIC. There's a big difference between nominal listing in order to discover the value and privatizing. If they are listing, say, 5% of LIC stock so that we will discover the true value of LIC, I will support it. But if they are going to sell 25% of LIC stake, they must convince me first why they want to sell LIC. LIC is no longer a monopoly. LIC is competing with the largest life insurance companies of the world, which have pitched their tent here. LIC is profitable. LIC is well managed. And LIC has increased its market share last year. Given these 5 factors, you must convince me why LIC is on the same boat as Air India. LIC and Air India in the same boat.
At the end of the day, Mr. Chidambaram, the government's response when I speak to their economic managers is twofold to critics like you.
Yes.
A is we've inherited an economy which was high inflation, which was low growth, deficit out of control. We've brought it back on a stable course. A. B, please look at the global slowdown. We are doing much better than most other countries in the world. These are the two factors they keep citing.
See, the problem is their own numbers belie them. when I came back to the finance ministry in August 2012, the fiscal deficit of the previous year was at 5.9. When I left the finance ministry and they took over, the fiscal deficit had come down to 4.5. I had brought about a reduction of 1.4% in 20 months. Now from 4.5, after 6 years, they are at 3.8, 0.7. You take 6 years to compress the fiscal deficit from 4.5 to 3.8, and you boast about your fiscal management. The last persons who should boast about fiscal management is the BJP NDA. Now,
do you admit that there were critical areas like the
minute.
banking sector that they needed to get right? They made an effort.
All
You
right,
cannot deny that.
We'll come back to that. We'll come back to banking sector. I'm taking one by one. You said legacy issue. I asked in Parliament the late Mr. Arun Jaitley, you keep on harping on this legacy issue, please break up your NPAs into 3 categories. Loans given in the UPA period, which have become non-performing. Loans given in the UPA period, which were evergreen, rolled over in the NDA period, which have become non-performing. And loans given in your period, which has become non-performing. Now, I'm still waiting for an answer. The government refuses to give the breakup. All right. Now, that is 6 years ago. Now, the last 6 years, what have you done? You have written off 6,65,000 crore of rupees scheduled banks have written off as irrecoverable loans. Is that your management? 6,65,000 crore is more than the money you infused as capital. So what is your management of the financial institutions? Your banks are in a mess. Your NBFCs are in a mess. You don't have a development financial institution. The only one you had, IDBI, you converted into a bank and you're going to sell it off now. So what is your approach? Do you want DFIs? Do you want universal banks? Do you want narrow banks? Do you want fewer banks? I mean, there must be a philosophy to your economy, isn't it?
But they will continue to argue, especially on banking, that these are inherited problems.
How
to
long
some
will you say
extent,
that?
you must accept it.
I inherited from Mr. Vajpayee. Can I blame Mr. Vajpayee?
No, you also inherited an economy that was growing in...
Was it?
It was.
Was it?
Mr. Vajpayee in 2004 gave you an economy which was on a fast track to growth.
Sorry, please understand. The 2 worst years since the turn of the century was 2011-12 and 2012-13. Just a moment.
Yes.
2 worst years. Growth was below 4%. Mr. Yashwant Sinha was shifted from finance to defense or external affairs, and Mr. Jaswant Singh came. 2014-15, of course, shows a growth of 6, but that is a statistical illusion because the previous year, the base year, was under 4.
You're talking about 2004-5.
I'm sorry, 4-5.
2004-5.
So we're talking about 2002-3.
4-5. 3-4 and 4-5.
No, I'm sorry, 2001-2, 2002-3, the 2 worst years, and 2003-4, when there was a last year. That is a statistical illusion. If you look at the average, of the 6 years of Vajpayee, it is only 5.7.
Let's not go into the past. Let's stay with the present. Let's come back to the present. Let's come back to the present. One of the strengths the government claims of this budget is that they have worked seriously towards simplifying the tax regime as well. The direct tax regime. They claim that that's an achievement from the time where you, in 1997, created a 30% tax slab which brought down tax rates.
Was that simplification or not?
That was simplification. They claim so is this, that they have given people the option today of a new revised rate, and they claim over time this will ensure a simplification of the direct tax regime. Do you accept that?
No, I don't. I reject it, and I can support my rejection with sound reasons. Firstly, anyone who argues for multiple rates of tax simply doesn't understand how direct taxation works. They're only encouraging arbitrage. 3 rates was simplification. Now they have 3 rates under one structure and 6 rates under another structure. This is certainly not simplification. They have had surcharges and cesses on top. Remember in 97, I abolished all surcharges and cesses. So this is certainly not simplification. This additional 6-rate structure as a plan B or a system B is only complicating the structure, number one. Number two, we did not know until yesterday, and I'm still unclear today, whether the option is available as a one-time option or is it an annual option. Initially, the impression that was given was it's a one-time option. You'll have to choose this or that. Now, statements that are coming out gives the impression it is an annual option. 1 year you can go under one system,
That's right.
1 year you can go under one system. This is going to lead to arbitrage. This is going to lead to people fiddling with their books of account so that they will choose whichever system is better for them. And number three, I'm not sure whether this is going to dampen savings. Already household savings have fallen by almost 4-5 percentage points. If this is going to dampen savings, that you have to give up your savings, exemptions are really savings. You have to give up your savings if you have to opt for a lower rate. I'm not sure in the long run it is a wise thing to do.
You know, the real challenge is you said
So
at
some
the
of these
outset,
questions I will ask, and I hope that the minister will answer.
you know, the real challenge of this budget, which you stated at the outset and the government concurs, is to kickstart growth.
Yes.
There is a demand problem at the moment. There's a consumption demand problem at the moment. There's a problem of stirring investment on the other side. What would you have done differently? Would you have pushed a stimulus at this stage? Would you have pushed what would you have done differently to what Nirmala Sitharaman has
This is a wrong question to put to an opposition politician. I'll tell you why. I must have the data first. See, I don't believe this data. I don't believe the data about revenues and expenditure. Unless I have the real data, how do I tell you what I should do, what I will do? You must have full information, number one. You must have the full macroeconomic picture. I must know what the current account deficit is. In her speech also, she didn't mention the current account deficit. I must know what the projections of foreign exchange balances are. All that is not known to us. So it's a wrong question to put to an opposition politician who does not have the advantage of full information. But having said that, the two things that required to be done was, one, kickstart demand. That means putting more money in the hands of the masses. Underline the word masses. She's putting more money in the hands of the small classes. She's not putting money in the hands of the masses. Last year or 6-7 months ago, she gave a bonanza to about 200 corporates. Today, she claims to give a 40,000 crore. In terms of impact, it's less than a flea bite. She's giving 40,000 crore to a very small number of income taxpayers. On the contrary, what she should have done is put more money in the hands of the masses, means Maganreka workers, agricultural workers, daily workers. You have to put money in the hands of the masses. That is the only way consumption will, demand will rise.
That requires resources. There's a question
Of course
whether
it
the
requires
government has
resources.
the resources to put in the kind of allocation that you would like the government to do.
Whatever
and had they
resou-
put those resources, had fiscal deficit balloon, you would have probably turned around and said the government is not showing adequate fiscal management.
See, last year, why did they give away 1,45,000 crore to corporates? And this year, she claims to be giving away 40,000 crore to the income tax class. So 140 plus 45, 145 plus 40 is 185 lakh crore. This 185 lakh crore could have been given to the masses. I would have increased Maganrega. I would have increased midday meal scheme. I would have increased PM Kisan. I would have increased the number of other programs where money will go directly to the poorest of the poor. And unless they consume, demand will never revive.
The government is using some of its flagship programs like Ayushman Bharat, for example,
Yes.
to show, look, these are the programs we're going to focus on. We're going to expand their reach. We're going to make sure that they spread across the country.
See, again, you're making a mistake. Ayushman Bharat doesn't put money in the hands of the masses. Ayushman Bharat is a reimbursement scheme which reimburses
Agreed.
hospitals.
You're saying you want, therefore,
Yes.
allotments in those programs
Yes.
that put money in the pockets of
And
people.
I'll tell you what they are.
And Manrega being the key one.
Maganrega, PM Kisan, midday meal, agriculture. Look at agriculture. In the current year, they allocated 1,51,000 crore. They actually spent only 1,20,000 crore. This question will be asked today. What happened to the 30,000 crore that you promised to spend on agriculture? Agriculture is growing at 2%. You don't even spend your money there.
So when the government today says that we will reach a $5 trillion economy, $5 trillion economy by 2024, we will double agriculture incomes by 2022. You believe that these are all dreams being spun?
Old false slogans. You know something? As a matter of interest, the chief economic advisor in the introduction to the economic survey has shifted the goalpost
From 24 to 25.
to 25.
As a $5 trillion economy goal.
So why has he shifted the goalpost, and why does the government not acknowledge that the goalpost has been shifted? Anyway, that's a minor thing. That's an aside. The point is, first you tell me, is it $5 trillion in nominal GDP or real GDP? I'm sure you don't know the answer because the government has never clarified it. Is it nominal or real GDP? Number one. Number two, what have you assumed as a dollar value of the rupee? That assumption is very important before you come to the conclusion of 5 trillion. Anyway, I wrote a column on that some months ago. Be that as it may, these are all boasts. Leave that aside. They will not be able to double the farmer's income. They will not achieve $5 trillion. And you and I are going to live until 2024 to find out whether they achieve it or not. Forget all that. Let's talk about the here and now. In the here and now, tell me what is in this budget that leads you to believe that the 5% average of 2019-20 will suddenly jump to 6 to 6.5 in 2020-21.
So are you, as we conclude, Mr. Chidambaram, predicting that the slowdown in growth that we've seen over 6 successive quarters will continue, that you believe that jobs will remain scarce, and you believe that there are no incentives for investment that you see at the moment or for stimulating demand that will actually kickstart this economy?
I'm not saying the
you don't believe that the economy has bottomed out?
I'm not saying the slowdown will continue. In fact, I don't even wish that the slowdown continues. It's possible that the 5% will remain flat. See, whether it's 5 or 5.2, according to me, all that is statistically insignificant. They are flat. I'm afraid 2020-21 will remain more or less flat around 5%. At least the first half, I expect it to be flat, unless they take some measures. Jobs, I don't see any creation of jobs, at least for the first 6 to 9 months of the new year. Investment, I don't see any spurt in investment because investors have already said that they're very disappointed with what the budget has presented. There's not going to be any large doses of investment either from domestic industry, domestic investors, or from foreign investors, which means it's more of the same. Like 2019-20 was a more or less wasted year. They had huge opportunities to take the corrective measures to revive it. They didn't do it. Bulk of 2020-21 will be a wasted year. They may wake up by December, October or December. They may wake up by October, December. They may take some corrective measures as they did last year. But I'm afraid the year will be a wasted year.
So you don't see this budget clearly signaling that the government is no longer in denial and that the government has woken up already?
No, the government continues to be in denial.
You believe the government is still in denial?
If she was not in denial, she would have mentioned the word demonetization. If she was not in denial, she would have accepted the fact that there are crucial sectors which are performing negatively. See, do you know that? Mining, coal, crude oil, gas, refinery, April, November, negative growth. Do you know that manufacturing is growing at 0.9%? Electricity is growing at 0.8%. Imports have declined for 8 months. Exports have declined for 6 months. She's in denial. If she was not in denial, would she not have admitted it up front, like the way Dr. Manmohan Singh acknowledged the situation in 1991?
Let's leave it there, Mr. Former Finance Minister. Remember, Nirmala Sitharaman gave a 2-hour, 47-minute long speech. This interview has its limits. I wonder whether if you ever become Finance Minister again one day, you'll try and match 2 hours, 47 minutes.
Never. In fact, you lose the plot. You've lost the plot, which is why you speak for too long. You've lost your audience. And eventually, and I'm sorry for her, she lost her strength and stamina. Why would you want to speak for so long? What you want to say can certainly be said in about 120 minutes or less.
I guess that's your final piece of advice from one finance minister to another. Keep your speech within 2 hours next time.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chidambaram, for joining me. Thank you.